Hey guys, I'm back with the next part of our Blazing blog app using Blazor server. So before continuing on this part, I would recommend you all to check out all the previous parts. I'm going to drop links of all those parts in the description box, so please do check those out. Okay, so in our previous part, we worked on creating a new blog post and editing a new blog post. It's editing new blog post. And in this part, we are going to work on displaying the blog posts on the home page with category wise and all latest posts. So that we'll do in this video. And just I found out we missed this cancel button functionality. On canceling, it should move back to the manage blog post page. So first let's do this and then we'll work on the home page. Fine. So let's start. First, let's go to save blog page and we have this cancel button. So let's change it to nav link, and then there is no point of having this type reset. Here we'll simply use href and the link will be same as we have on this back to manage blog post page. So let's copy this URL and add it here. Fine, save it, and now we should be good. Edit and cancel, and we are back to the manage blog post page. Fine. Now let's change this. Let's go to home page, and now we'll work on home page. Index.razor, that is our home page, and then page title first thing. So let's have it. Let's say latest post blazing blog. Fine. Here is the code blog, and then we'll start designing our page. So we have div class container. We'll divide our page in two columns. First column, div class row. First column will be of width 9, call sm9 to display the blog post, and then the second column for category. So here we'll say blog post, and on this section, the second section, we'll display categories. Save, and now if we check, we can see this blog post and categories. Now we'll work on designing these things. Fine. So first thing, let's have one heading. This. So what we'll say h1, and here we'll say latest posts, and we'll make it a little smaller, fh3. Fine, and after that we'll add one hr here. Cool. Now we need to get the blog posts list basically. So for that we'll have private enumerable of blog post, and let's say posts, and we'll have default value as enumerable empty blog post, and then we'll fetch these in on initialized async, and here we'll get these posts from our blog post service. So let's inject blog post service, inject blog post service, and here we'll use this await blog post service dot get post async. Now if we go here, it is returning all the blog posts, but it was good, it was fine for admin managing blog post page, but when we are displaying it on the home page, we would only display the published ones, not all. So we have two approaches. Either we can have a separate method where we'll add that where clause to filter out only the published ones, or we can have an optional parameter here. We'll say bool published only, and we'll set it false by default, so it works on the admin page as it was working before. We don't need to change anything in the existing consumer of this method. But for now, for this new thing, what we'll do, we'll hold the query till here in a variable, then we'll return await query dot to list async. So this is same as before. Now we'll simply add, if we have this true, published only is true, then we'll modify this query object and we'll say query dot where blog post bp dot is published. Now it will only return published if we pass this flag true. Cool. Let's go to the home page, edit, and from here we'll pass that parameter as true. So we have posts now. Post will be filled here. You could have that loading indicator and all those, but I'm not having those here. First thing, we'll check here if we have some blog post or not. So for that, we'll check if post.any. If we do not have any blog post, that means uh, maybe there are no blog posts, or maybe there is no published blog post. So here we'll display a message, Dave. Fine. Here we'll display a message in, let's say, H3. We'll say no blog posts found. After this, we will add one authorize view here, and in this authorize view, what we'll say, if the user is authorized, that means user is logged in our case the admin user is logged in, so we can show a nice button. So we'll say click here to create a new blog post, because we know the user is logged in right now, so he can create a new blog post. And if the user is not logged in, then we'll simply display some p message. We'll say please check back later. Fine. And on here we'll show the link. It will be to the creating a new blog post. That means on save blog, this URL. Fine. Let's save it and let's see how it looks right now. So we can see this. First, let's have some styling. Okay, so first thing, let's change this link to some button style. So on this nav link, we'll add classes. So here we'll say btn primary, at least these two. Save, and now we can see this. Now we'll move these to the center of the screen. So for that, on this container div, we'll change it to display flex, deflex, and justify content center. Fine. Now these are side by side, but we need these in one column, so we'll say flex column. Now next thing, reflex, justify content center, align items center as well to vertically align these, and then let's have some minimum height, or maybe we can add margin top so that it had some spacing from the top, or we can add the min height to this. So let's add min height of 250 px. Nice, cool. So this is fine because we are logged in. Let's log out, and now we can see the other message, no blog post found, please check back later, because in that case, in this case basically this not authorized is working, and when we log in, then this authorized view is working. Fine. Now next thing, let's work on this categories section. So we need to load the categories. In order to do that, let's first have one more collection, enumerable categories, and it would be category, and now we need to get the categories, and to do that let's inject the category service. So category service, and now we'll get our categories await category service dot get categories async. Fine. Now these two calls, these are not dependent on each other, so instead of fetching both of these records using this sequential manner, let's parallelize these. So for that, what we can do, we can simply say that post task, and we'll remove await from here, so it will automatically start at this time, and for category we'll directly await, and then for post we'll await this post task here, post task. So now these two, how this is going to work, first it will hit line number 40, then it will start this operation, and without awaiting it will simply go to the next line, then it will start this category service and it will await for the result, and the blog post service, it is still in progress. When we got the categories, then we'll come to the next line, line number 42, then we'll await for this, so most probably it will be completed at this time, so it will result in better performance speed wise basically. Okay, so we have these categories. Now let's display these categories in this section, in this right section. So here we'll say, first let's have h3 and we'll say categories. After this we'll have one hr, save, we can see this. After this we'll have one ul here, the ul class, and we'll say list unstyled, so we don't want that default bulleted list. And here we'll add one for each loop, we'll say var category in categories, and then we'll have one li, and in li we will have one nav link with href category blog posts, and here we'll simply display the category dot name. Save it, rebuild and apply changes. And we have some problem, and the problem is invalid operation. Second operation was started on this context before the previous operation completed on db context. Fine. So the problem here is we are parallelly running two operations on this db context, on our blaze context, a blazing block context, and the problem here is Not problem, this is the expected behavior in this case. So when we register our block context, so that is here, the default lifetime of this registration is scoped, and Blazor server runs in scoped lifetime. So both of these started working on the same block context, same instance. So but block this db context does not support it. So we have two approaches. First, we can change the service lifetime by using the second parameter, which is service lifetime, and we can change it to transient, so it will always be a new instance. Or second approach could be, we can simply register it as a factory, maybe func or context factory, then we can fetch those, and those will be always be a unique separate instance, we could say. But for the sake of simplicity, let's use this transient lifetime. Now rerun it. You can see these categories here. Fine, let's design these categories. So on this li, first we'll have some margin bottom, then we'll have border bottom on this li, and now on this nav link we will change the first thing, we need to remove that underline text decoration none. Fine, after this let's make it font size 5. So this is heading 5 actually, h5. Then let's have some padding vertically. After that, I think this is fine, right? Or maybe let's have some padding on this li only. So we'll say p2, three, p1. Okay, p1 is fine. Now, because the screen is smaller, okay, let's make it fs6 first. And this thing, it is coming to the next line. It looks good. If you don't want it, you could use text truncate uh, class here. Then you can use the block on this, so you will see this dot 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 if you want this. And in my case, I think that is fine if it is flowing through the second line, so we are good with this. Fine, so category list is here. Now let's work on this blog post. So right now we cannot see any blog post. The reason is we have two blog posts, but both of these are not published. So let's publish these. Save and save. Now these are published. Now if you go to home page, we cannot see anything because we have not added the else condition for this no post found. So let's add else condition here, and in this else case we'll simply create a list of blocks. So ul star, and in class we'll say the same list unstyled. And here for now let's uh, see if posts are loading. So we'll use for each where post in posts, and for now let's simply add the post dot title. Save it, and now we can see these two blog posts. Now let's design these. So For this we have first in li we'll do we will have one div class row, and here also we'll have two columns. First column div class call sm2, and the second one 10. In first one we'll show a nice box with div class, or let's have a border only, sorry, not border, label. We'll add some classes, and here we'll add the initials of the title. So we'll say post dot title dot substring 0, 2 characters, SD and WE. Now next thing, on this label class we'll add, first thing, let's make it bigger, fs1. Second thing, let's make it uppercase. Fine. Now on this call sm2, let's have some background color, so bg primary. Fine. And we'll have this as rounded corners, so rounded. Okay, let's have some spacing between these two, so on li we'll add mb3. Okay, now let's move this text to the center of this box. So for that, on this we can have deflex and justify content center and align items center. Save. Okay, now let's change this to text to white. Fine. In the call sm10, let's have one h2, and here we'll have nav link with href blog post detail page, and here we'll display the post dot title, rebuild and apply changes. Okay, we'll design this now. H2 nav link, we'll add some classes on this. So first we don't need this uh, underline, so text decoration none. After that, let's change it to color black. Fine. After that, let's make it a bit smaller, fs5. Fine. Okay, now let's have HTML title element, so post dot title. So we will, it's uh, a good practice to have title attribute on the anchor links. Fine, we have this thing. After this we'll add the category and published date time. So after this h2 we'll have one small tag, and here first we'll have one label. In this label we'll have one nav link with href as category blog post, and here we'll display post dot category name. Save it, and we can see this category name. And after this label we'll add one more label, and in here we will display post dot published on, and we can modify this to published on dot value dot to string to short date string. Okay, and we know this will never be null in this case, so we can add this sign, and now we are good. We don't need this uh, underline, so let's have some styling on this nav link. So first text decoration none, and then have the title element. Here we could say post dot category name blog post. So it will say blog post. Let me rerun it. There is some issue. What is the issue? No. Title text. Post category name. Title decoration. What is the issue? Blog post does not contain categ. What is categ? Category name. Category name. It is not able to pick up. Maybe my intelligence is not working or something not right with this. Post. Okay, let me close the Visual Studio and open it again. Category name. Yeah, let me close Visual Studio. And yes, now there is no issue. Let's run it. No, there is some issue. Component attributes do not. Oh, okay. So there is one thing which we need to change these components. For Blazor components, we cannot mix and match dynamic, razor and these static strings. So we cannot do this. This is a limitation of Blazor. So we can do this thing on this label. This is fine because this is not a Blazor component. This is pure HTML component. So for this, what we need to do, we need to have it as a variable outside. We'll say category title, and then we can have it like this, and then category title we can. So the problem here is either if we'll have just this, it will work because now this is all dynamic, and the second thing is it this will work because this time it is all static content. Okay, so now we need to do this category title. Now it will work. Now it is here and we can see the title element. Now let's continue. Okay, after this small, let's have a P, and here we'll display the introduction. Okay, fine. Now we have this introduction. Cool. And we'll make it a bit smaller. So we'll say FS6. Fine. Now next thing is this background color. This is now right now static. We added BG primary. So let's say we have 10 posts on this page, so all those have this color, but we need to randomize it. We will randomize this color. And then second thing, this these initials as the, what if I have a blog post which has something like a, something which starts with a single character and then something like this. Let me do this and I publish it. And now if I go to home page, you see only A, but it should have shown two characters. The problem here is it starts with A and then space. So we have first two characters A and space does not show up when we display it. So we need to somehow fix this as well. So we have two things. First, getting the initials. Second, this background color randomization. So these two things will, for these two we'll create a new class for our utilities. So let me stop it. We can have it in a folder, or I'm going to have it as a class on the root. So we'll call it, let's say, utilities. This is going to be static. So first we need to make that randomize function. So for that we'll use public static read only and string array, and we'll say color classes because Bootstrap provides some built-in color classes, so we'll use those. First we have primary, then we have success, then we have info, danger, warning, and then we also have dark. So we have these classes. Now we'll have one public static string, let's say get random color class. From here we'll simply return this underscore color classes dot, we can add order by GUID dot new GUID. So we are randomizing it and then we are returning the first item from here. So it will be some dynamic class. Let's use this in our index.razor page. So instead of having this hard coded here bg hyphen primary, we'll do this at the rate utilities dot get random color class. Fine. Now if we run it, it is coming up, we can see this, and if we refresh it we can see different colors, right? Now let's use the same color as a light background of this section, the right section. So for that what we need to do, we will extract out this color in a variable because we need to use the same color. So we'll say where color equals this thing, and now we'll use this color here, and after that on this call sm10 we'll use same thing bg hyphen this color, but this time we need not like this, like this time we need this color to light color. So for that we can use Bootstrap's utility class for fading the background. So we have bg opacity, then we can use this. So let's save it and let's check how it looks now. And now you can see if we refresh, so the right color is the lighter version of this color, Okay, so it looks good. It is starting looking good. Fine. Next thing, let's do this, these initials. So for this, what we'll do in our utilities class, we'll create one more class. So we'll say or we can have it uh, as an extension method on the string, or maybe let's have it here only. So we'll say public static string, and we'll say get initials, and we'll get the text as a parameter. And here first let's have a default initial, so that will say const string default initials, and this will say blazing block bb. And now we'll start working on this. So we'll say if this is not null or empty, then we'll do the thing. If that's not the case, we'll simply return the default initial. Default initial. Although it is rare case, but yeah, let's do this. After this, we'll break this text into parts. So we'll say text dot split with space, and from spacing we'll add some flags to this. So string split options dot remove empty entries, and string split options dot trim entries. Now we'll have these parts, and then we'll check if parts dot length is greater than 1. If that's the case, we'll return parts of 0. This is the first word, and from here we'll get the first character. Right, parts is a right now an array or collection of words. So when we say this part 0, this is the first word, and when we add again this 0 index, then it is the first character. After this, we'll say parts of 1 and then 0. So what it will do, if something is like uh, the title is something new framework called Blazor, something like this, then what it will do, it will get the initials N and F. So first characters of the first two words, something like this. Okay, and if that's not the case, we'll say text dot length. So here what we are saying, here we are saying that this text, it has only one single word. In that case, we'll check the character count. If it is greater than 1, then we can get first two characters. So for that we can use the range. So we will see this from 0 to 2 index, first two characters basically. If that's not the case, we can return default initial, or we can return simply text with the single character, and we should be good. This is extreme rare case. Okay, now let's use this. Where are we displaying it? Here, right? So let's remove this, and now we'll say utilities dot get initials, and we'll pass post dot title. Save and rerun. Now we can see the initials, right? Okay, fine. So this thing is working now, and the text, it looks very bad because I have just added some random characters. Fine. Now next thing is, let's work on the these category links. So when we click on some category, it should open up the same page. We can have the, because we are having the list, so we'll use the same page to list out the category blog posts. Okay, so for that let's do this, or maybe before that what we can do, we can extract out all this thing, this blog post, this UL actually. We can extract this out in a separate component, or we can have it here also. It's up to us. So let's move this to separate component, and that component we will have that in components, and here we'll create a razor component. Let's say blog list, a blog post list. Fine. And here we'll simply cut this thing and paste, and now everything looks fine. Just this post thing, we need this post from its parent. So let's add a property here, and it will be of type INumerable blog post, and let's name it post only, and it will be an parameter. And let's have the default value numerable dot empty blog post. Now let's use this component from there and use pass this blog post from the this section. So we'll use that blog post list, and let's use this blazing blog dot component in the imports.razor section, so we don't need to have the fully qualified path when we are using that component. Continue editing, go back. Now we can do this blog post list, and from here we need to pass this parameter, and we have this. It looks clean now. Cool. After this, let's work on the rebuild and apply changes. Let's work on the category posts. Okay, we can see the exact same thing. Fine. For category blog post, we will be on this same page. So if we will be on the same page, we need to add some different URL. So for that, we'll use another page directive, and here we'll say, let's say C for category, and then we'll have category slug, and then we'll have blog post for this. So blogs or blog posts, or let's have just posts like this category slug, and then this thing. Now we need to have one property here for that string, and this will be nullable, because if we are on the default case, then there will be no category slug, and this will be parameter. Find this thing. Now next thing is, if this category slug is not null, in that case we got some value, and if that's the case, we need to modify this getting category section, sorry, getting post section, right? Because now we need to filter out these posts by this category. So for that we need to modify this get posts async, this method. So for that, what we can do, publish only, let's go here, and we'll pass one more parameter. Here we'll say category slug, and we'll have null value here, the default null. And after this published, or maybe before this published, we'll add another if condition. Here we'll say if string dot is not is null or white space. If that is not the case, and we have category slug, basically if that's the case, we'll filter out these by the category name, this category, not category name, category slug. So for that, what we need to do, first we'll get the category ID of this category slug. So for that we can do where category ID equals await, and we can say context dot categories dot as no tracking, and then we'll say dot where, or let's say first or default. From here we'll say c dot slug equals category slug. We have this category ID and we'll check if category ID is not null. Okay, we need only single thing, so we'll add, let's change it to where, and then add the select with c.id only, and then pass.default. So now this will be category ID. Here we'll check if category ID is greater than 0. So we have category ID. Now we can add this category ID filter to this query. We'll say query dot to where bp dot category ID equals category ID. So we added this extra condition here. Save it, continue editing, and now we need to pass this category slug as well to this thing. Fine, now we'll have category blog post. So let's see it. So JavaScript, right? We have not changed the URL, but we'll change. But for now, let's try this. So we have C slash then JavaScript slash post. So we can see only one blog post which is of JavaScript, right? And if we change it to something like, let's say SQL Server, then we will not have any post because we don't have any post in this category. What other category we have? We have Blazor, right? So here we can say Blazor and we'll see one Blazor post. Fine, so it is working. Now if we are on this page, first let's add the links to these, and okay, maybe before that let's change this heading. So if we are looking at some category blog post, then this heading should not say latest post, it should say the category latest post. So for that we need to have some logic to make this heading dynamic. So for that what we can do, instead of hard coding this latest post and this latest post, we'll create one variable here. So we'll say private string and we'll say, let's say heading with default value latest post, and on initialized async we can check if, and now we have a problem. Okay, we'll try to tackle that later, but for now let's say if we have some value in category slug, so let's check if not string dot is null or white space category slug. If that's the case, we'll say heading equals latest, and then we'll add category slug here. Ideally it should be category name, we'll do that later, but for now let's have it category slug only. So category slug and post. Fine, so we modified this heading. If this is not the case, it will use the default latest post heading. Cool. Now let's add the category links here. So we know C slash, now we have the category slug. then post, right? So let me copy this thing, and now this category select, this part should be dynamic, so it should be category dot slug. But the problem again, this nav link, this is a Blazor component, so we will have to have this category link here. So category post link, and here we'll use this thing, and instead of this category slug, what we'll do category dot slug, and then we'll use this category post link here with this href. Okay, and same thing we need to do in this blog posts list, right? Because we have this thing. Where is blog post list? This one. Here also we have this category blog post, this link, right? So we need to have that category link here. So we'll pass one more parameter to this, where we can simply say that this is the category slug, right? Or we can have the category slug directly from here, because we are including the we can have it directly here. So what we can have here, we'll say category title, color, and after this, or maybe before this, we'll say for category, we can have category name here. Oh, sorry, category slug we need. Category slug. So we can get this from post dot category dot slug, like this. Category slug. So category blog post, right? So C, then sorry, not category slug. We need to have this complete thing. Okay, and for category slug, we can use this thing. Fine, and now category post link, we'll use this here. Cool. Save it. Save this page, and let's rerun. App is here, we can see this. Now if we click on this, let's say this JavaScript, we can see the URL, and URL is changed. But if you notice, nothing on the UI is changing, right? The URL is changing from here we can see these the color of these boxes, this is also changed. That means something is happening for sure, but the content is not getting modified, and that's because how Blazor or any single page application framework works. If we are on the same page and if the route changes, then automatically it uses the same instance of the page, so it is not calling. In our case, if we check, we have this on initialized async, so this method is not getting called second time when the URL is changing. But we can have one method. So if we'll add breakpoint here and then on this thing, right? So let's rerun and let's see when these two things are getting called. On initialized async, continue. On parameter set, continue. On initialized, this is now on client side. Okay, now if we change JavaScript, we can see on parameter set async and initialized is not called. If we change category, on parameter set async, initialized is not getting called. So because we are changing the parameter of this category slug when we are changing this route, so this method is being called on parameter set async, not on initialized async. So what we should do in this case, we should add our logic in the this on parameter set async, right? So let's extract out this logic from here, and we'll create one method here. So private async task, let's say load data async, something like this, and we'll have this logic here, and we'll call this method from on parameter set async. So we'll say load data async, or let's say set data async, because what we are setting categories and all these things. Set data async, fine. And here one thing which I want to emphasize, so when we are doing this, category select is changing, posts will be changed, but what about categories? Categories will not be changed, right? Because this right category list, that will be same, so there is no point of refetching the category. So for this, what we can do, we can simply check before doing this. We will check if we already loaded categories or not. If we don't have categories already loaded, then only we'll fetch categories. Fine. Now we can remove this on initializing. We are not using this anymore. So save it, rebuild and apply changes. Let's see now. Latest post, fine. Blazor server advanced. We can see Blazor server advanced, ASP.NET Core. URL is changing, this thing also changing. SQL, entity framework, Blazor, Blazor server, Blazor work, JavaScript. So we have whatever element we have data for, that only is getting loaded. And if we click on home page, then all the data will be here, right? So these things are working as expected. The only thing which is not working, this is this latest posts, right? This heading should have changed. Okay, this is not changing because we have not used this heading in this template. So we'll do this here as well as here. H1, save it, rebuild, and now we should have everything in place. Find latest posts, latest entity framework post, latest Blazor server post. Fine, things are working. Home page, cool. JavaScript, home, Blazor server advanced, all links are working, everything is working, right? Now next thing, we need this thing to be category name. So maybe I can leave it to you. You can think of a solution. The problem here is, if we use this, if we fetch this every time from the database, we can ideally have, but we can have it in somewhere in memory, in caching. From there we can load the category. So it's up to us how we are thinking about it. Or we could have another approach, but no, that is not that good. What I was thinking, maybe when we have this category list, we already have this category list, and then we can simply uh, apply a filter on this category list to fetch this, but that will be kind of later. Or maybe we can do this. Yeah, why not? Let's do this. So this thing will add after this. So this time we are sure that we will have this categories collection loaded. So we can get the category name from this category. So we'll say category name. We have these categories. What we'll do, categories dot where c dot slug equals this category slug dot first dot name. Then we can use this category name here. Save it, edit, run. Now we should have the correct category name. Okay. Okay, Blazor server advanced was okay. Things are working now. Fine. We are logged in. That's why we are seeing these things. If we log out, then we'll simply see this message. Okay, cool. So this thing is also working. Now next thing, we need to work on the detail page. Right now this is listing only, but now we'll work on detail page. So for detail page, blog post detail page, we'll work on this page in our next part. So that's all for this video. Please like this video if you like my content. Please share this video, subscribe my channel. I'll be back with the next part very soon. Till then, bye bye.